My name's Anderson Hurst. The road to the Super Bowl in the NFC goes through Seattle.
My name is Chris Crawford, and this one was for Molly. I'll tell you why.
My name is Rob Rang, and I'm here to talk about why the number one ranked defense pushed the Seahawks to the Super Bowl berth here, essentially.
Hey, 12, it's the Seahawks squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
Welcome, 12s, to the Seahawks Squad Show. My name's Anderson Hurst. I got Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with me as we break down the Week 18 victory against the San Francisco 49ers. Before we go any deeper, I want to mention that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. Well, it's about the most lopsided 10-point victory that I've ever seen in my life, as the Seahawks win this one 13-3. They go to 14-3 on the season. They now have the record for the most wins in an NFL season for any Seahawks team ever, with a little asterisk that there is an 18th game now. But still, sure. You matched it last week, so that was fantastic. The biggest thing for me is you held a San Francisco offense that looked kind of unstoppable for the last month plus of this season to 3 points. And I guess the old adage is true that good defense beats good offense. And that's exactly what was on display today, as Seattle just absolutely dominated this game from start to finish. It never really seemed like San Francisco had anything going. Yeah, they had opportunities to get back in the game, but Seattle shut the door before that ever became a reality. I just want to get you guys' instant reaction. We're going to talk run game. We're going to talk offense in general. I love the way of Sam Darnold's played the game tonight. And then, of course, this awesome defense. And we're just going to spend a lot of time talking about how good they are and how good they can be. And then we'll do our unsung hero. But Chris Crawford, how good does it feel to be 14-3 on the season and have the number one overall seed?
I mean, it feels amazing. And I think you hit the nail on the head. A 10-point win doesn't begin to describe how dominant this was. They were the better team in every aspect, every single aspect. And, not all wins are equal, right? Because, there's wins that have significance because it's the postseason. There's wins that have significance because of something like tonight, where you clinched the number one seed. Every Seattle playoff game until the Super Bowl will be in Seattle. And then hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll be going back to Santa Clara, which is just a terrific feeling. I'll also be honest with you. Today has a little bit more significance to, I said this win was for Molly. I had to put my 14-year-old dog to rest yesterday, and it's been a really hard day. Really, really hard day and a really hard weekend. But having something like today, it makes you feel a lot better. So this one was for Molly. You guys have all heard her snoring in the background of these videos over the last few weeks. But I'm just so proud of the Seahawks, and so I love you, Molly.
Rest in peace, Molly. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that with us. And I think she was overlooking this one, and a great win for the Seattle to get it for her. Rob, what's your initial reaction after just a massive Week 18 victory for the Seahawks?
Yeah, I was a little bit, too excited there when I said that this was a defense that was going to push the Seahawks to the Super Bowl, but that's what it felt like to me. I mean, I just thought that the San Francisco 49ers playing in Santa Clara, obviously the site of which the Super Bowl is going to be played in a couple of weeks, I just thought that this was a championship caliber opponent. And I thought that honestly, that some of the cards were stacked against the Seahawks in this particular game. I thought if Sam Darnold struggled at all, then there was going to be just an onslaught of critics that were coming his way. If Seattle had the audacity to choose running the football to establish that they were the more powerful physical team, then again, if anything were to happen, then again, there was going to be an onslaught of criticism that was coming their way. As good as the 49ers had looked over the last 6 games, they had won 6 in a row. The Seahawks had won 6 in a row. And just listening to some of the critics out there who were saying, can Seattle slow down the San Francisco 49ers passing attack, the running attack, just the offense that is Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, to answer all of those questions with such an emphatic no, this is our time. We are the better, more physical team. We will run the ball right down your throat. We have Jackson Smith and Jig, but we're going to start the game throwing the ball to Rashid Shaheed. I just thought that Seattle basically said, no, we're better than you are in every single way. And to not even be better in every single way. One of the things I thought the Seahawks had been better than any other team in all of the NFL was on special teams. To have Jason Myers miss 2 field goals and yet still win this in double-digit fashion. I thought that it was really just kind of, just laying your cards on the table and saying our cards are better than yours are. And now you're going to have to come to our house and be able to kind of, beat our open house, so to speak. And I just don't know if there's any team that's going to be able to do that until you get back to Santa Clara in the Super Bowl. So as I said before, I spoke a little bit prematurely there in saying that this was a Super Bowl victory, but maybe it was one of those Freudian slips, because I do think that this is absolutely a Super Bowl caliber team, and the Seahawks just proved it on Saturday Night Football.
Yeah, Turbo. Thank you for joining us. By the way, appreciate you hopping in here. It's great to have. Baby. Great to have our RB1 on a day where both running backs showed up in significant fashion today. We'll get that breakdown here in a second when we get to the offensive portion of the program. But your initial thoughts, 14-3, number 1 seed, big win against your rival in Week 18.
Yeah, Seahawks were the better team tonight. And, it's interesting. All week, I've been on a few different shows. I was on CBS HQ earlier this week. I think that was Thursday. Obviously talking about the big time matchup that happened tonight. We had our episode earlier this week. I was on Sirius XM radio earlier this week talking about this game. Yeah, man. And, in all 3 of those opportunities to talk about the game, I felt like Seattle was going to win the game. And, I talked about what we discussed in our last episode in terms of, man, if you go position by position, Seattle has the advantage in a lot of spots on the field, over the 49ers from a personnel standpoint. And I think it showed up tonight. And so, I'm really not surprised. The defense, and you guys have been talking about this a lot, but, I mean, it's just like you have a great defense. We talked about this in the last episode when momentum doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, Rob talked about the 2 missed field goals. So that's an opportunity for the 49ers, man, to get something going. They got the big drive, and they get, down inside the 30-yard line, and then we come up with an interception. There's no such thing as momentum against the Seattle Seahawks defense because of the way that they play. They just play as if it's 0-0, 15 minutes on the clock. That's how they play.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue to be tough to beat because of that.
Yeah, I think that's a very underrated way to look at it. A lot of people just look at the stats, and you look at your third down conversions, your red zone, conversions both offensively and defensively. But when you describe it that way, Turbo, I totally agree with you. It feels like that they line up and they're like, we're going to beat you no matter what. We can have the cards stacked against us. You can call ticky-tack penalties against us. It doesn't matter. We're better than you. We're going to line up and we're going to be more physical. We're going to believe in our scheme, believe in what we're going to go out and do, and we're going to go win the game. And that's exactly what they did today. I struggle to find too many negatives from today. It's that there's I know you score only 13 points, but you only needed 4 technically.
Yeah.
So I guess it doesn't really matter that much. But there were some missed opportunities offensively. It should have been more of a blowout, especially in that first half. But again, it doesn't matter. You do exactly what you need to do to win games. And now that's another big win. Like, you can kind of be a little bit grasping for straws, asking for more in wins when they're against kind of the lower tier teams in the NFL. But when you're beating another team that's vying for a number 1 overall seed in your division in the last game of the season, to me, I mentioned this in our last episode, this is a de facto playoff game. They mentioned it on the broadcast tonight. It really, especially for the winning team, because you basically won your wild card game now because you don't have to play it. You now have an extra week of rest, number 1. With a team like, I know they mentioned the 49ers and they're banged up and all that stuff. They loved talking about that the entire time tonight. Instead of giving the Seahawks credit, they talked about how the Niners were injured the entire broadcast. But whatever, you know what? You do you. But this is just, it's so massive. You basically just won your wild card round playoff game. Yep. And that's how I'm viewing this. And it's awesome to think about. And especially doing it against your rivals. I'm not saying you won't see the Niners again. I could totally see an NFC championship happening where it's 49ers Seahawks. But Chris, it just feels like this team, and we've mentioned it all year long, every year the Seahawks have been the number 1 seed. They've gone to the Super Bowl. It seems like the path is very, very clear now to go get that done.
Yeah, it's 2 home wins. It's 2 wins at home, and you are going to the Super Bowl. It is, sometimes it feels like that's making it too simple, but no, that's exactly what it is. And you're going to play the lowest seed remaining, which actually could be a disbenefit to Seattle because there's a chance that's the Rams or 49ers instead of it's funny, I was going to make a joke about how whoever gets to play the NFC South also gets a bye in this, because holy crap, if anyone watched that football game, goodness gracious, awful, but it's awesome. And what's fun is, like, we've done a bunch of stuff, and you can call it overreactions or whatever, but like, where we've said, yeah, but if you do it like this, if you do that against the really good teams, you're not going to be able to win that game. Can't say that anymore, because the Seahawks did have offensive mistakes today. They did have drives that they should have come away with points where they didn't today. And you still beat the crap out of the 49ers. You still beat them by double digits. And the 49ers were never truly in this football game. I never felt like the 49ers had anything close to a stranglehold or anything of that ilk in this football game, because Seattle's defense was just that good. But they can beat you anyway. They can beat you 38-37. They can beat you kicking 6 field goals. They can beat you any possible way. You play to what Seattle is doing. And Seattle is going to be the better football team based on the overwhelming majority of the results we've seen this year. This is phenomenal, but it really does come down to that. You win 2 home games, you're playing for a championship.
Yeah. Rob, add to that, because it just feels like this team, like they have everything kind of clicking for them at the right time. And the way they play football right now, Mike McDonald has these guys firing on all cylinders.
He really does. And Chris kind of alluded to it without saying the actual words, but Mike McDonald's kind of talked about how he loves for games to kind of, quote unquote, declare themselves.
Oh, I like that.
I really think that is a masterful way of approaching every football game. It's just acknowledging that, yes, you may have one of the best defenses, an offense that's a little bit up and down. And obviously with the special teams performance that Seattle got today with Jason Myers missing a couple of kicks, then the special teams can be a little bit up and down. But you basically just kind of change how you were going to call the game offensively, defensively, and on special teams based on what's happening in the actual game, rather than just kind of resting on your laurels. This is our reputation. This is how we're going to play. I saw Seattle be a little bit uncharacteristically aggressive going for it early on 4th down, rather than taking the kind of the layup field goals. I think that Seattle anticipated this was going to be a game where they were going to struggle to slow San Francisco down offensively. That was the way I thought. I thought this was going to be a 30-35 kind of a football game here. And I think that Seattle thought that as well. But to be able to kind of change the game, just to react as the game is going on, adjust, recalibrate, however you want to say it, I thought that is one of the strengths of Mike Macdonald as a play caller, both offensive and defensive, certainly with his coordinators on both sides of the ball as well. And to me, that is, again, one of the more encouraging things. And again, it's what Chris basically said, that you are able to win the game, kind of however you have to win the game. And that to me was one of the most encouraging aspects of this because, again, I think that Seattle basically dominated this game from the outset. But there were moments where I thought, okay, here's San Francisco's opportunity. They're going to make their little run. Obviously, the interception Drake Thomas was able to get against Christian McCaffrey changed the entire game. But I just thought that Seattle basically established themselves as the better football team. And yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, maybe Seattle is going to have to play the 49ers in the future, but the 49ers can be coming to Seattle. Every other team is going to be coming to Seattle. As we've talked about on so many different occasions, Seattle is 3-0 when hosting the NFC Championship game at home. So it does feel like this is a very, not just possible, probable road to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Turbo. What was the biggest reason Seattle dominated the game as much as they did tonight? Because I think a lot of people expected this to be a close game, as Rob just mentioned there. But Seattle looked like the better team from start to finish. What's the biggest reason in your eyes?
Yeah, I heard Kenneth Walker give an interview. I think he might have been talking to Laura Rutledge or one of the young ladies who does the sideline post game, and she was asking him about Sam Darnold. But, he kind of answered the question more in general terms, and it just kind of came down to just like being disciplined, up front on the offensive line. He was talking about the run game getting going, but I think that really goes like throughout the team. And, the thing that really is interesting to me, when you watch Seattle, especially like the latter part of the season, is you don't see a lot of self-wounded mistakes in terms of, critical penalties on 3rd and 9, from the defense of secondary, or illegal hands to the face, when they get a hit on the quarterback or roughing the passer. Like, they play such disciplined football. You don't get the holding penalty on a critical 3rd and 7 from the offensive line. Like, they just don't make the critical mistakes that some of the other teams make, even the 49ers tonight. Critical 3rd down, and they get a pass interference against Rashid Shaheed, which would have gave them the ball back. Instead, it moves the chains for Seattle. Seattle doesn't make those mistakes. And to me, that's the separator. When you watch the team play, they're just so connected on all levels, and they play, for the most part, mistake-free football. The mistake that they make are like, Sam Darnold missed the running back in the flat. That would have been a touchdown, Right. Instead, he's looking over to the middle and to the left, when he's got a running back. It's like late in the game before Myers misses that last field goal. I don't know what Zach Charbonnet was thinking or doing, but for whatever reason, he was like hesitating in the hole when he had a touchdown. Yeah, he just hit it right there. That's a touchdown right there. Yeah. Those things kind of happen, But other than that, as far as like the big penalty or something, you just don't get that from Seattle, man. I think that's the big difference.
I completely agree. Let's build on that in the second segment, because we talk about offense kind of right after the opening segment. I want to go straight to defense. They held San Francisco to 3 points, and that's the biggest reason they won the game. And I want to kind of highlight what Turbo said there and kind of expand on that here in the next segment. Seahawks win this one 13-3 over the San Francisco 49ers. They secure 14-3 on the season as their record. They secure the number 1 overall seed. They secure home field advantage, and they secure the first round bye in the playoffs. It's everything to play for, and they did it tonight in a massive win away from home. Again, another road victory. That's another thing we have yet to mention. It's just so impressive what this Seahawks team it did tonight and has done all season long. Let's talk about this special defense on the other side of the break here as the Seahawks win this one, get the number 1 seed against the San Francisco 49ers. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour, so be sure not to miss it. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new with boosts, bonuses, surprises, all that fun stuff just in the FanDuel app. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make every move before the window closes. The timing's perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts, it adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back, Seahawks Squad Show. I'm Anderson Hurst. Chris Crawford got Robert Turbin and Rob Rang with us as well. Seahawks win this one 13-3 to go to 14-3 on the season and beat the 49ers in the process, get the number 1 seed, first round bye, all that fun stuff. And it starts with the defense, guys. They held San Francisco 3 points. Chris, how'd they get it done?
Oh my gosh, so much. And this is the best example of what I was talking about last week, where there's just so many guys on this defense who would be the second, third, or sometimes the first best player on defense. But I want to particularly shout out Riq Woolen, man.
Yes.
I think it's so obvious, and the struggle that he had in week 1, right? Like those 2 plays that he gives up. Well, really, since then, Riq Woolen has been a freaking baller, and he was so good tonight and made some absolutely huge plays. That tackle he makes, right? That tackle, like, I want to see more of that from him because of his size. Like, he should be able to blow things up a little bit more. But let's not forget, this guy's a former wide receiver, and he's still learning a little bit about the position. He was so good tonight. And one of my favorite things about the Seahawks this year, it's similar to the Mariners, by the way. First time the Mariners and Seahawks have won the division in the same year ever, which is pretty crazy, which speaks more to the fact that the Mariners have only won it 4 times, but it is still a lot of fun to see. Redemption arcs were a huge part with the Mariners. Redemption arcs were a big part for the Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk more about Sam Darnold in the next portion, right? Like the redemption arc that he had. But Riq Woolen basically had a full season of redemption arc after that first game and just doesn't get nearly enough credit. The linebackers were phenomenal today. Yes. I mean, Christian McCaffrey was an afterthought. One of the very best players in this sport, was the 3rd best running back today. And it's not even close. Like, the top 2 guys were so much better than McCaffrey was today. And that is more a compliment to what the Seahawks did to them than the insult to McCaffrey. Yeah. This defense is just so freaking good. It is the best in the NFC, and it's not even close. And it's why I will be surprised if the Seattle Seahawks don't go to the Super Bowl now, because I trust this defense so much as a collective unit to get the job done. But I have to shout out Riq Woolen, man. That it was an incredible football game that he played today.
Yeah. Rob, where are you going? There's so many different ways to go, but why do you think they were able to hold San Francisco to just 3 points today? What was the big reason why?
I just think it was the inability of the 49ers to run the football. When I think of Kyle Shanahan, I think of his ability to creatively run the football. Oh, Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, then you just bring in some other back. I mean, there's been so many running backs that they've brought in over the years that are guys weren't even drafted, and yet they still wind up running for 100 yards. They held Christian McCaffrey to 8 rushing attempts for 23 yards. The 49ers as a whole had 53 rushing yards. Their entire offense had 180 yards. That's the same exact number as the Seahawks had just running the football. So talk about just kind of imposing your will. Seattle completely gummed up the San Francisco running attack and made the 49ers very much one-dimensional, while also proving that they could run the football. 180 rushing yards is the most of the Seahawks have had all season long. To do it in the very last game on the road against a team that we know the 49ers are struggling with injuries. If you didn't know that, then Joe Buck and Troy Aikman certainly reminded you of that during the telecast. But still, to have that type of a physical just demonstration of your power, your want to, and to be able to slow them up. To me, look, I think slowing down Brock Purdy, slowing down George Kittle, all of that are very much factors. I love the fact that you mentioned Nicky Warrior. I think that his ability, we saw he led the Seahawks in tackles in this game. Obviously, he missed most of the first game after going down to injury, basically in the very first play. So all those things are true. But I think that the number one reason why Seattle not only beat the 49ers, but beat them emphatically was because they were able to control the line of scrimmage and win the running game made the running game as one-sided as they were able to do.
Yeah, Turbo, everyone was zoned in on Mike McDonald versus Kyle Shanahan going into this game. And that was that side of the football, Seahawks defense versus 49ers offense. And it reminded me a lot of the Christmas Day game 2 years ago, between the 49ers and the Ravens. And that's when Mike McDonald was, of course, the defensive coordinator against the Ravens. And the 49ers were Super Bowl favorites that year going into that game. And they got absolutely dominated by that Mike McDonald coach defense. And really, it seemed like this was a very similar outing for this Seahawks defense. But it seems like every week it's someone else kind of showing up. I think Riq Woolen is a great shout. Chris Crawford, Nicky Manwari, of course. Who stood out to you, Turbo? Why do you think it was the Seahawks were so successful on the defensive side of the ball against an offense that's been lighting it up recently?
Well, before I answer your question, I do want to shout out Chris Crawford because, I love the fact that he called out Riq Woolen, because to me he's the most improved player on the team.
Yeah,
no Riq Woolen, I think, was on his way out. I think that he was on the verge of either being cut and or traded from the team, and he really buttoned up. As a ball player, he's playing like the guy we always thought he could be.
Yes.
When he really showed his talents as a rookie, and you got to give a lot of credit to Mike McDonald for that. He's one of those coaches that gets the most out of his players. Not every coach is able to do that. Think about the players that have played this season. Every single guy, the replacements for Charles Cross on the offensive line, everybody's playing at their best, it seems like, when they get their opportunity. And that is an example of great coaching, for a guy who's been out there. The Seahawks play a traditional style of defense. And what I mean by that is they keep it simple. They want to stop the run, okay? They want to force in the third and longs, and they want to put pressure on the quarterback. And that's exactly what they do. And by the way, if we elect to, Witherspoon's a pretty good blitzer. If we want to do that, we can blitz our linebackers. But they don't even have to, in this defense. They could, but it's not even their style anymore because it doesn't have to be. And so the fact that they're able to keep it traditional like that, the 49ers just simply didn't have an answer tonight. The best example was end of the first half, 49ers, we have the ball, right? And I think the 49ers get like a big sack, or I think it's a TFL first down or something like that. It's first down, it's either a TFL or a sack on Sam Darnold. 49ers have all three timeouts, okay? And I think we're inside our own 30-yard line. Okay, most defenses, most coaches are going to take timeout. They're going to take a timeout right there, try to preserve enough time for their offense to get the ball back and at least try to get three.
Right.
And the 49ers are like, nah, we're cool. We're just going to have time 10-3.
Yeah.
Yo, that's saying a lot.
That's the ultimate respect.
That's saying a lot, y'all. And so that is where, to answer your question, Anders, where the defense was so dominant.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great kind of description to how it made the 49ers feel. It's like, oh, we're lucky to even be 10-3 at this point. We'll take this. We're not risking anything at this point. So I think that's awesome. And you kind of mentioned the clock management stuff there. I have a couple questions with that. It's funny because as much as I've been kind of pushing Mike McDonald to kind of go for it a little bit more often on fourth down and stuff, the first, and of course, hindsight is very 2020. If it would have worked out, like great call. But the first one, when it's 0-0 on your first drive, if you guys remember, one of the first things I said during the last episode was like, hey, I just want to get points on that first drive. It's so important just to get points on that first drive. And to take the lead, I would have just kicked the field goal there. But then on the Seahawks' second to last offensive drive, technically, when they had the opportunity, Jason Myers' second missed field goal, it was a 13-3 game still. That's where I would have gone for it, because it gives you the 3-score lead, really puts the game away. It's 10 versus 13 points if you don't get it. So that's just like very minimal stuff. But I think in general, your defense played so well that it didn't even matter. These are just small little tiny things. And, I love that they had the idea of being aggressive, as Rob mentioned earlier, thinking that they would have had maybe a little bit more trouble stopping this 49ers offense than they did. But guys, Christian McCaffrey was nothing. George Kittle was nothing. Brock Purdy, I don't even know if he had 100 passing yards. I really don't think he did today.
No, it was tough sledding.
Yeah, man. And
remember?
Yeah, go ahead, Turbo. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Andrews. You got it.
I was just gonna say, can we shout out this D-line, guys?
Oh, so good.
They were dominant all game long and rushing for. And every single, and maybe I think they only got one sack, but my God, did they affect every single drop back from Brock Purdy today. So that's just all I wanted to mention. And that ability to get, not even get home all the time, but get pressure with 4 is so important. What were you going to mention, Turbo, before I jumped in there?
Yeah, no, I mean, to extend on your point there, Anders, almost made Brock Purdy tap out right there at the end of the game now.
Yeah.
That's tapping out, y'all. I'm telling you. I've been out there. Sometimes you get to a point where it's just like, man, that I'm cool. I'm trying to live to the next game.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make one more point about Reek Woolen, because like I said, I love the fact that Chris Crawford brought him up. Remember, we had conversations even on this podcast where it was like, hey, it might be Josh Jobe right in that spot instead of. Remember, we were talking about that instead of.
Rob Rang never did that. I'm saying it right now. Rob Rang has always been on the Reek Woolen love train. Good. So props to him. Good. He's always been there.
And that's what makes him a scout.
It is.
Yep.
No, it's true though. We were questioning him at the beginning, and I don't think it was wrong to do that. He had a couple games where he wasn't living up to the level that we expect him to be, and it's going to be an interesting decision when the offseason comes along here, because there's going to be some interesting ones. But I'm thankful that we don't have to think about that right now, as the Seahawks win this one 13-3 over the San Francisco 49ers. Let's switch to the other side of the ball. Because while it seems like just scoring 13 points, that maybe you didn't have a great day offensively, especially against a pretty porous San Francisco defense and with injuries as well, I'm going to kind of poo-poo that. I think they had actually a really, really good day today in a lot of different ways, and not just running the ball or not just Sam Darnold, but in almost every category, the Seahawks offense did excellent work. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely did what they needed to do to win this game. Let's talk some next on the Seahawks Squad Show. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your own money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and EFTs, options, futures, and crypto, all in one platform Now you can build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends Advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Now expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Welcome back. Seahawks Squad Show and a 13-3 win. This is our 14th time, guys, doing Seahawks Squad Show post-game live after a Seahawks victory, the most victories in a single regular season in Seahawks franchise history. Now, they do have the 17th game, so there's a little tiny asterisk there, but I think, it's still a very, very good accomplishment that the whole team and the whole franchise can be very proud of. Let's talk about the offense today, because while you held San Francisco to 3 points, I think that's probably the most impressive side and the biggest reason why you did win this game. The offense was not too shabby, and I mentioned on our last segment that you scored 13 points against a so-so defense. You expect to have a little bit more just in terms of results and points going into this game. But Chris, did you think they, maybe outperformed the score in this game? Because I feel like they did.
I think so. There's some mistakes that I think they'll look back on and say, we got to clean some stuff up. Missed 2 field goals from a guy who's been awfully good this year. The big one to me is that Sam Darnold, and Turbo brought it up, man, that's a wide open touchdown if he's looking for Charbonnet there. And that's the one that frustrates me. There's 2 runs from Zach Charbonnet. And look, Zach Charbonnet played a good football game today. I want to talk a lot about Kenneth Walker and how great he was for sure. But there were 2 runs from Charbonnet that really frustrated me. One of them Turbo brought up that I don't know why he's dancing in that hole either, Turbo.
At the end of the game, right?
That's just a run that you're just pick up the first down, and probably if you just run hard, you're going to end up scoring because it's, squared up. It's difficult to tackle. There was another one, too, on 3rd and short that he tried to bounce outside that a lot of people, if Kenneth Walker would have done that, there would have been about 8,000 tweets about dancing and going.
Well, I feel like that did happen. I think later in the game in the 3rd quarter around that time where he gets kind of tackled for the loss. But yes, continue, Chris.
Yeah, that's that play, though, because it would have set up a 4th and short if he just falls forward, and at least creates a situation. Outside of that, I thought the offense was outstanding. And Kenneth Walker, man, I don't think you can say enough good things about his game today. The play of the game is that, was it 3rd and 17 that he ends up picking up there? It's a give-up play for a lot of teams. It ain't for the Seahawks. We've seen them convert on that 3 games in a row now. 3rd and 15 plus, where we have seen them take advantage of the situation. Defense is playing back, and just the speed and the want. The want for Kenneth Walker cannot be questioned, man. That guy wants it. And he had a couple other just spectacular runs. He was excellent as a receiver today as well. Yep. He was your best offensive player. All credit to JSN, who once again has another very solid football game. Demore, you sure you want him one-on-one, bud? You sure about that? You talked an awful lot of crap, bud, and now you're going to go be playing in Carolina or Tampa Bay, one of the two. You talked a lot, and it didn't work out very well for you. I know how that goes sometimes. But, man, this offense was so much better than the score indicates. You got to convert those field goals. I have to say, too, that last drive, just go for it.
Yes.
You have no timeouts left. You're up by 10. Go for it there. The field goal going up 13 instead of 10. Is it really that big of a difference to me? I don't feel like it is. I know it's technically 2 touchdowns, but just finish it. And I have a ton of confidence in Jason Myers making those field goals going forward. I have confidence in Zach Charbonnet, finishing off those runs that he did today, and still had a terrific game. I think 74 yards rushing as the backup is pretty damn good. But I thought the offense was much better than the score indicates. Ultimately, it's a results business, but I thought the offense played a lot better than 13 points.
Rob, where you want to go Offensively, I want to talk Sam Darnold. I want to talk the 2 running backs, and I want to talk O-line. So any one of those, go ahead.
Well, I just think, again, the running game to me was the story. Seattle's ability to slow down San Francisco's running games, talked about before, 53 rushing yards from the 49ers in this game, 180 rushing yards for the Seahawks. Sam Darnold finished with 198 passing yards. For Seattle to run the ball 39 times for those 180 yards. Again, that's the most rushing attempts. That's the most rushing yardage that Seattle had all season long. I thought that really just kind of proved that Seattle had the ability, not only the want to, they talked about it all year long, that we want to run the ball. Well, that's great, but actually, prove it. And yet they did. They absolutely imposed their will on a 49ers team that has a nice reputation for a defense, but we all know that it's struggled with injuries. And so if you are facing an opponent that is dealing with some injuries, then bury them. And that's exactly what Seattle did. So you mentioned the, on 4th down late in the game. That's why I actually kind of respected Seattle's decision there. I certainly understand. Run the ball, bury them, as I just said. I also think that, again, you have to have some respect for your opponent and the way that games can just flip in this league late in games. Just keep the positive momentum up. I agree with Chris there. I have a great deal of respect for Jason Myers. I mean, leads the NFL in field goals made. I thought that was just a gimme that he would get that field goal and continue the positive momentum. That's why I actually liked that move. Although often I would argue that just be the more aggressive team if you are the better team. And I think that Seattle often has been the better team.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Be the more aggressive team if you are the better team. But it's calculated aggression, right? It's a small little nitpick situation. But Turbo, I want you to talk about the running game because I know we've kind of mentioned it a lot, but obviously being our RB1 here on Locked On Seahawks, just like it feels like to me that all year long it's been either or with Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet, right? It's been a big game for K9 or a big name for Sharps. They both stepped up in a big way today and in the biggest game of the year.
I really think that Clint Kubiak had a really great offensive game plan going into the game. 39 rushing attempts really means that there was a big emphasis on taking advantage of the weakness of the opposing team. And that weakness for the 49ers is not only, generating sacks and putting pressure on the quarterback, but it's been stopping the run. And so, offensively, Clint Kubiak's like, okay, we're going to run the ball basically 40 times in this game. And they were able to take advantage of it. Sam Darnold, not for a second really in this game, did he look uncomfortable.
Nope.
Agreed. And you think about the game plan. They moved the pocket a lot. They got Sam Darnold in space. He had options. He had an answer, for what the defense was giving him. That's coaching.
Yeah.
I think the offensive line had a very underrated performance.
Definitely.
They just pretty much dominated up front. And I keep harping on the coaching point because, earlier in the season, we would talk about how it felt like, we're trying to learn how to use Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker together.
Totally.
And it just feels like they haven't figured that out yet. Well, over the last month, Clint Kubiak, running backs coach, like the coaching staff offensively, they figured out, okay, these are the strengths of Kenneth Walker. These are the plays that he does well. These are the things that Zach Charbonnet does well. And they're starting to utilize those talents the right way on the field. And that's, to me, the difference. That's what I'm seeing the difference with the running backs right now. And it really showed tonight, and it's been showing over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I love how Turbo shouted out the O-line because it seems like that was I almost went in and said this was the best O-line, the best game the Seahawks O-line has played. It's in a long time. But I also remember that they're not really going up against a ton of talent on the defensive line of the San Francisco 49ers. But just from the game today, go ahead. Yeah, Turbo.
Yeah, but like to me, I think the thing that to me like stamps the the fact that this coaching staff has done a really excellent job this year. We've talked about Reek Woolen. Early struggles, playing like a Pro Bowler now.
Yep.
Kenneth Walker III. Early struggles, indecisive, indisciplined, playing like a pretty good, one of the best running backs in the game right now.
Yep.
Anthony Bradford. I seen him put somebody on his ass last week and stand over him.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's coaching, y'all. Like that, like to stick with it. Sundell goes out. Oluwatumi comes in. Don't miss a beat. That's coaching. You know, it's player working hard, but it's also coaching to be able to weather those storms and get the absolute best out of each individual player. That's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're witnessing right now with this football team and these players. And I think Mike McDonald and the coach staff has just done an excellent job. I watched the game and I'm just like, man, like I know, like I can feel what it feels like to be out there and playing for this guy.
Yeah, it just seems like a well-coached football team. And I know that's just a very general word to say. And you can look at like the very obvious stats of that, like the lack of penalties, the lack of like blown coverages and stuff like that. And that is the case. But I think what Turbo's highlighting there is excellent. The main job of a coach in any sport is to get the most out of your players, whether that's putting them in positions to succeed schematically or having them improve individually. It's their job to get the maximum potential out of the players that are going out and executing the game plan. And they're doing that in all phases right now. And it's so great to see that it seems like the team as a whole is all rowing the same direction. They're kind of all in this one, like, let's go get this done. I love everything that I am watching right now, especially from the coaching staff. So I thank you, Turbo, for bringing that up, because I think it kind of gets lost in all that because we're watching those players execute and everything. But I think that's the main reason this is working is because they have a coach who, A, the players all want to play for and want to get this done, but B, is able to put them in positions to do that as well. Okay.
Hey, real quick,
ahead,
big shout out to John Benton, man, because the improvement in this offensive line coach, and I don't think that Scott Huff is an idiot, and I don't think that he's bad, but he clearly didn't get the job done last year. John Benton has gotten the job done and then some, and shout out to the work he did with Josh Jones. And I know Josh Jones leaves with a bit of an injury there, but Josh Jones played a phenomenal football game in place of Charles Cross as well. Gray Zabel was an absolute menace in a positive way today. The block he lays on that screen to Kenneth Walker, where he's basically the only lead blocker on that screen pass too, right? Like you just all of a sudden see him just say, ludicrous move, expletive, get out of the way. Like that was an impressive play. But shout out to Benton, man, because he has made this offensive line so much better than the unit was last year. Credit to the players, of course, but I do think you have to give some credit to Benton for just the cohesiveness that we have seen from this offensive line and the improvement that we have seen from all of these guys in 2025.
Yeah, love that shout out, Chris, because it's not just the Mike McDonald that gets credit for all the coach. It's Kubiak on offense, and even Adam Durde, the defensive coordinator, and then you can even go positional coaches as well. So I think all these guys are doing their job phenomenally. Okay, we haven't talked about him yet.
Yeah, we got it.
But we're gonna spend the last segment. We normally, this is where I would throw in unsung hero, and I give each of our analysts an opportunity to shout out someone who maybe, doesn't stick out 100% in this game. I'm choosing our unsung hero for all of you guys, and our unsung hero is Sam Darnold.
There we go.
We're gonna talk about him next segment here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Welcome back, Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, Robert Turbin with you. Sam Darnold, Seahawks win this one 13-3 over the 49ers, go to 14-3 on the season. Number 1 overall seed, first round bye. Home field advantage, all that fun stuff. Send the Niners to the wild card round. Sam Darnold, 14, and Chris mentioned it perfectly. I was a little bit scared after that first drive where he has Zach Charbonnet by NFL standards, miles open for an easy touchdown. And, a lot of people will harp on the play call because, you had success running the football in that first drive. The play action did exactly what it needed to do, in my humble estimation. You got the look that you needed. It just wasn't executed for whatever reason. But then after that, I can't remember a negative play that Sam Darnold took in this game. I really, really can't. And his stat line doesn't look amazing. 198 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, though. No turnovers. Seattle won the turnover battle, which was another thing that the ESPN broadcast loved to keep talking about. Oh, Sam Darnold's turned the ball over a ton, just very surface level stats, but whatever. But it just seems like he had a very underrated game tonight. Am I right in viewing things that way? Turbo, I'm going to start with you this time, but what do you feel about Sam Darnold?
No, I thought he had an excellent night. He managed the game the way that you would expect the QB1 to manage the game. He put the team in position to win on downs, to win on critical situational moments, and to ultimately win the game. Sam Darnold is a good player, man. He's a good player. He's, I don't know who I can compare him to, but it's like the 2012 Ravens. He's like the Joe Flacco, different styles. Different styles, but
Super Bowl champion Ravens, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's my point.
Yeah,
I did that year purposely because they won the Super Bowl that year. And my point is that you can win a Super Bowl with that style of quarterback. Careful with the football, good leader on and off the field, and puts his team in a position to win games. When it's time to win on the field. He's a good player. Is he some freaking – he doesn't have to be. He's got to be Sam.
Yeah.
And that's been working for the Seattle Seahawks all season long, and I thought he had a great game tonight.
Yeah. Ranger, what do you think about 14 and his performance tonight? Just feels like he did everything you needed him to do to win this game.
100% agree with you. I thought that Turbo articulated it well. Look, if you want a quarterback who is going to win you a fantasy football championship, there are guys who are out there. If you want to win the Lombardi trophy, frankly, I'd rather have what the Seahawks are building here, a quarterback who is kind of an aw shucks kind of a personality, who doesn't have to get a touchdown to still be one of the most important players on the field for you. He finished 20 of 26. So in terms of his efficiency, he was dynamite. Yes. 198 yards, as we talked about. He doesn't have any turnovers in this game. There weren't a lot of throws or times where he was sacked, where I thought that he put the ball in harm's way. Everybody talks about his interceptions. He's obviously also had a lot of fumbles, including against these 49ers. So I was concerned about that, especially considering the fact that Seattle at times had their number 3 left tackle, Amari Kite, in there for Josh Jones as the backup left tackle, obviously as the backup to Charles Cross. And yet, regardless, I thought that Sam Darnold did a nice job of kind of maneuvering throughout the pocket, getting the ball out of his hands. I thought that he did a nice job of distributing the football. JSN is always going to be the number 1 receiver in this team, of course. He had 6 catches, but to get the ball to K9 4 times, Charbonnet 3 times, Cooper Kupp, A.J. Barner, Eric Saubert a couple of times. They only threw 1 pass to Rashid Shaheed. That surprised me. But the fact that it was the very first play of the game, I thought that basically forced the 49ers, hey, recognize the number 22 is back out here on the field. He's over this concussion and situation. I just thought that Seattle did a really nice job. Again, as Turbo mentioned, basically protecting the quarterback. And then, of course, it's a lot easier when you run the ball 39 times. But I just thought that this was a game that, again, if Sam Darnold has any mistakes, the critics are going to come through the woodwork. He's playing in San Francisco, where, of course, he was the backup, where, of course, he grew up, played his high school ball, his college ball at USC. There was a lot of some of the intrinsic factors I think that could have weighed heavily on Sam Darnold. And the cameras showed Brock Purdy walking around just all confident and feeling good about himself. And Sam Darnold, I thought, looked a little bit nervous walking into Levi Stadium, but the proof is in the pudding, and the way that Sam Darnold was able to just win this game cool, calm, and collected, again, I think is one of the biggest reasons why Seahawks fans should be really, really excited about where this club is right now and where this club could be going here shortly.
Yeah, Chris, just talk about what you saw from the quarterback position tonight on the Seattle side.
I thought he was phenomenal. And, Shaheed only gets the one target. I think one of his best plays is recognizing a mismatch with Shaheed there, where the defender has to make a pass interference there that keeps that drive alive as well. So he does make a little bit of an impact there. I thought he was phenomenal. There was one throw that you could say was turnover worthy, and it wasn't even that. He just overthrows JSN, and if college rules, maybe that would have been an interception, but it doesn't. And it's the only throw that I went, that wasn't really him at his very best. Where he was at his best, that 16-play, 89-yard drive. And I know it ends with the missed field goal, but it essentially wins you the game, right? Because you make the 49ers use all their timeouts. They weren't going to score 2 more times. They just weren't. Not with no timeouts left. That throw where, and I got to be honest, I was nervous about it, where he's rolling on 3rd and 10 from the 36-yard line, and he throws a little bit across the body, but he hits Cooper Kupp for that 25-yard connection. That's an elite throw. That is an elite throw, and that is elite pocket awareness there to know that Cooper Kupp is there. Because when I looked back at it, I was like, I shouldn't have been nervous at all. There's no defensive players anywhere near Cooper Kupp on that play, but I just always get nervous anytime a quarterback makes a play like that, right? It's just something that you get taught a whole bunch. Like, don't throw across your body. Don't throw across the middle of the field. You get taught it in basketball. Don't throw across like the paint and all of that good stuff. But that was an elite play and an elite pocket awareness there. Yeah, he gets no touchdown passes and 198 yards in today's football isn't like an elite amount. But Sam Darnold is a very, very key reason why you win this football game today. He played mistake-free football. He kept you alive in drives. And the big thing was 20 of 26. Why those completions matter? That clock, baby. Keep that clock going. And the Seattle Seahawks just basically ran out the clock on the 49ers in the second half today. Just a terrific, terrific effort from Sam Darnold. And you talk about redemption arcs. Is there any quarterback that was more scrutinized at the end of last season than Sam Darnold? The answer is absolutely freaking not. You can't criticize Sam Darnold based on what he did these last few weeks. You just can't.
Yeah, and I think especially combining your and Rob's points here, especially, he was given basically the same exact scenario that he had last year with Minnesota.
Exactly.
Last week of the season, you're 14, or you could be a 14-win team, but if you lose the last game, then you're out. You're not out, but you're going to a wild card, and you're going on the road. Right. And the last couple games, all that stuff, it's like, oh no, is he going to do it again? Absolutely not. He does not do that. And he doesn't try and play like, and I know a lot of people, including myself, kind of want to see the aggressive, let it loose Sam Darnold that we saw from the first half of this season. He doesn't, he knows exactly what he needs to do to win games. And he doesn't have to do that. He knows, hey, I just need to hand it off to my guys 39 times. I need to not make mistakes, not turn the ball over. And I need to make a couple big throws late in the game. Check, check, and check. All 3 of those things. And it's not that it's not impressive. It's just when you look at his stat line, it's not the 500 yards from Patrick Mahomes that you see a lot of the time, right? He doesn't have to carry his team to victories. And I love what Rob said about fantasy championships versus the Lombardi Trophy. This is the kind of football that wins games. It's literally proven, because he's the only quarterback to win 13 games in 2 straight years, other than Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and is I don't even think Patrick Mahomes has done that. There's one other guy that I'm missing. Peyton Manning. So yeah, pretty good list to be on, guys. And I'm always someone that says wins are not a quarterback stat, right? Because there's everything around you that goes into winning football games as well. And you can still be a really good quarterback and not get the win. But at the end of the day, that's the end goal, right? That is the end goal. And he's done an absolutely awesome job doing that. So I'm really.
What else helps this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your point, Anders, about Sam Darnold. You know what else helps this? Because there's a lot of comparisons to Minnesota last year. The thing that helps this is Jackson Smith-Njigba, in my opinion.
Oh my God.
And the overall attitude of the team. Got championship attitude.
Yes.
Because there's unselfishness throughout the locker room. See, in Minnesota, even though Justin Jefferson might be a great guy, great dude, and he's been a phenomenal leader this year throughout a tough season. You know, we all know that. For us who've witnessed what was going on in Minnesota this year, you still go into the game like, man, we got to get this guy the ball, you know. And a quarterback knows that too. Sometimes when you're playing with a Jamar Chase or some elite wide receiver, to me, Jackson Smith-Njigba is in that conversation with these guys, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and as far as being like an elite wide receiver. I ain't never seen him cry for the ball once.
Nope.
I've seen the other guys cry for the ball.
Yeah.
AJ Brown. You know what I'm saying? Get out,
including his former teamate, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think his mindset and the team's mindset in terms of being team first and being unselfish helps the performance of Sam Darnold not force things that aren't there, not be concerned about having X amount of pass attempts or having amount of targets to a certain individual either. And I think that highlights the way that, you know, he's been performing this season as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, in the Seahawks, at the end of the day, it turns into a 14-win season, regular season. We're still not done yet. They get the first round bye. They can spend the next, week resting, getting guys healthy. Get Charles Cross, Kobe Bryant. There are some injuries on the Seahawks side. It's not just the 49ers guys that are dealing with injuries here. As you might think if you're tuning in for the first time to Seahawks football, watching the game tonight. But it was such a massive win. Let's get final thoughts around the horn here as we kind of close this one out. It's just, you basically, like I've mentioned it already, you've won your first round playoff game. And now you can set yourself up for a really, really not easy, but straightforward path to success and go. Let's go all the way. It feels like it's becoming realer and realer as we get to this point in the season. So last thoughts on this massive victory in Week 18, boys, in the last regular season episode of the Seahawks Squad Show. Chris, go ahead.
I'm just going to do a quick shout out to everybody who's been here all season, man. Like, this has been awesome. I'm not surprised that we've gotten the kind of turnouts that we do, but we had over like 600 people here at one point, and that's pretty awesome. And it's really appreciated that you guys have supported Anders and I, and of course Rob and Turbo as well, throughout this whole year. And thank you everybody for the kind words about Molly too. It's been rough. It's been really rough. I miss my dog an awful lot, but I love you all.
All right, Rob. What are your final thoughts after this one?
Well, final thoughts, certainly, just heavy heart to Chris and family. Certainly understand that losing a loved one, whether they have 2 feet or 4 or tails, hell, wings, but still, and to lose a loved one is very difficult. So certainly sending love your way, sir. On a Seahawks note, I'm looking forward to the game a week and a half from now. That's going to be right around January 16th, 17th, 18th. I mentioned the date specifically because it was November 16th, the last time the Seahawks lost a game. So not only New Year's, not only Christmas, the Thanksgiving as well. It's been an awful long damn time since the Seahawks actually tasted defeat. Why taste that again? Why not just kind of keep this ball rolling? And so the 12s out there watching, listening, thank you so very much, as Chris said. Let's get it going, y'all. I mean, this is what you live for, and you have 2 more games until you go right back to Santa Clara and then wind up hosting the Lombardi Trophy one more time again, like our buddy Robert Turbin.
Oh, yes. The only one on this episode, this show, that has a Super Bowl ring to show off. Turbo, what do you got? Final thoughts?
Well, two things. First of all, big shout out to Chris Crawford, man, and Molly, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks,
big
buddy.
love to you and the family. The second thing is Anders, as I grab my glass of mimosa right here.
Beautiful.
Hey, playing on a Saturday night wasn't so bad after all. Huh,
No,
Anders?
it's not.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm not
yeah.
complaining. I'm not complaining
You
at
still got
all.
the day tomorrow. You still got the day tomorrow. Huh? You can get up in the morning and get your own mimosas tomorrow.
Exactly.
Instead of having to go to work, you know, and get a chance to really let the Seahawks win, sort of, you know, dissect. You know what I mean? Huh? Feels good, right? Right.
Yeah,
How much better is football tomorrow, by the way?
Oh my
How
God.
much better
And next
is it
weekend.
just like
And next
weekend? You just kind of watch and you feel like you're sitting on like a little bit of a throne there, like, oh, wild card wins.
We're already in the next round.
Yeah, exactly. Shoe peasants.
So Seattle then so Seattle would play the 7 seed. Is that correct? Or 6?
Whatever the lowest seed that wins.
Whatever the lowest seed is. So if the Packers win, they will play them no matter what. Just like if the Eagles win and the or whoever the 2-3 is, no matter what would happen there, that would be it. But it's the lowest remaining seed.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I like it that way. I think I prefer it, but it also in the NFL it's a little weird because like the lowest seed could be a 13-3 team compared to an 8-9 football team as well, which is pretty stupid. But it'll be the lowest seed remaining. Yep.
They got the seeding right for the second round of the playoffs, but not the first round. So that's weird how that ends up working itself out. But boys, guys, it's been awesome. We're obviously not finished, but I've had such a fun time doing this show with you guys. I'm excited to do many more of them. And as we're mentioning it now, we're going to do it throughout the offseason as well. But as the regular season is finished up, I just want to say a huge thank you because I love going live after every single Seahawks game. And whether you are consuming us live on YouTube or maybe on the podcast afterwards or watching us on YouTube afterwards, we love you guys hanging out with us. It's a great community. I've said this multiple times. It makes it feel a little bit closer. Even when you have, your groups that you watch games with and stuff like that, when you can come and react and be a fan with us here on the Seahawks Squad Show right after every single game, it's awesome. It's honestly, I think it's a fantastic thing that we're doing here on Locked On Seahawks, and I am super excited to be a part of it. I have the best guys with me too: Chris Crawford, Robert Turbin, Rob Rang, Corbin as well. When he gets on during the midweek show, it's just a fun group of guys. I appreciate all y'all. And we'll chat again early next week. Does that sound good, boys?
Sounds good, man. We doing this in the off season?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to renegotiate my contract.
Oh man, no, I'm excited. But we get some playoff games to dissect, so we can, like Chris said, watch the games tomorrow with a nice, easy feeling. Our hearts will not be racing trying like to Buccaneers fans, even though they won tonight. They're still going to be hoping for something else to happen tomorrow to get in the playoffs. And then next weekend, you just get to watch and see who you're going to be facing. So really appreciate all y'all. We'll chat again early next week. Have a good one, guys. Go Hawks. And let's keep it rolling.